Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net, and this is your look ahead updated on Monday the 8th of June. I say updated as if we only do it every few days, but as you know it's done every day we issue the look ahead video. Excuse the bang in the background there, that was me just dropping something off my desk. Oh well, never mind. Anyway, you don't get this on the telly, do you? What I wanted to do today was just take a look at how things are shaping up through June and July. What sort of signals we starting to pick up of the forecast then. By the way, if you do want a fast forecast for the next couple of days, then Gary has that for you. Go to weatherweb.net, click on the fast forecast, and he's got all the details there for you. And a quick update for you as well. We're actually working on the premium site at the moment. Things are going well with that, and hopefully should have an announcement for you within the next few weeks about that premium site. The idea is actually that's going to be available to subscribers, but you'll get loads of additional forecasts on there, and we'll be doing additional videos on there as well. It just allows us to expand what we're doing. So I'll tell you more about that in the next few weeks. Anyway, some great shapes in the cloud this morning as convection just got going around about 8:30 this morning. We had clear skies here in Wombourne, which is South Staffordshire, which is where we're based. Clear skies early on, but cumulus clouds soon got going, and some wonderful shapes in the clouds as well, telling us much about what's going on in the upper atmosphere. And when we see the clouds going off like this, it tends to mean that the upper parts of the atmosphere are cold, and it gives us an unstable air mass, and it's in those air masses that these cumulus clouds can form. And eventually, of course, you get the right sort of cumulus cloud, it grows into cumulonimbus. But these are interesting because, look, here's the base of the cloud in here. There's the top, look, sort of curling over in here. So what was going on was the wind was blowing through like this, quite a strong wind. And effectively what it was doing was blowing off the top of the cloud ahead of the cumulus cloud itself. So we got dynamics going in here, which meant that this part of the cloud was slowed down. But those top parts of the cloud, where we were getting this convection coming up from the main cloud, was then influenced by the stronger wind, which was blowing it forward of itself. It tends to mean a very raggedy atmosphere when this sort of pattern is going on. And it also tells us that actually at the top of the cloud there was probably not quite so unstable air, but with cooler air feeding in all the time from the east today, destabilisation was taking place all the time. And in fact, the radar picture here shows you, look, the showers that occurred across the east of the country from late morning into this afternoon. In fact, some heavy ones in there as well. If I just zoom in there, you can see, look, some red colours in there as well. So some places did have some heavy showers this afternoon. Those now fading. Somewhere else having some heavy rain is over on the west coast of the States. This is the Baja Peninsula, and this is Tropical Storm Blanca, which has gone into the peninsula during the course of today. Brought about some pretty hefty bursts of rain as well, up to 10 inches of rain expected in some places, typically 3 to 5 inches, but could be more in some locations. So there's Blanca showing up in the satellite picture at the moment. Here's the next area of tropical development that's being washed. That too could develop into a tropical storm during the next few days. So that feature here down to the south being watched very carefully. And at the moment, the National Hurricane Centre has a high probability watch on that area of tropical storm formation during the next 5 days. And of course, we'll keep you updated here at weatherweb.net. Now, interesting developments in the upper atmosphere as well, over the tops of our heads here in the UK at the moment. This is the 500 millibar flow from 4 o'clock this afternoon. There's the trough, look. This is what was responsible for those showers triggering off across the east of the country during this afternoon. As cooler air just moved in. What I want you to watch, though, is the dynamics of what's going on just at the moment. So the wind flows with the heights. So with the wind coming down here, look, it's pumping cold air into here, into the trough. Down here, we've got a low towards the west, the Azores. That's pumping warmer air up here. And of course, you're getting a contrast there between warm and cold air. When that happens, it's always the recipe for something to kick off. So just jump forward a couple of days, and indeed, something has kicked off. That's the trough basically being cut off, the trough that's gone through us being cut off, forming into a low pool when it meets warmer air coming up from the south, forming into a low centre of heights across the Bay of Biscay, second area here towards the east of the Azores. What that then does is it cuts off the jet, so it allows the jet just to flow up towards the north of the British Isles, and in the meantime allows the ridge here that's in between the two areas to be able to build its way eastwards. Then by Friday, look, the low centre of heights still in place, still in the Bay of Biscay, and again what we're finding here is cooler air feeding in to the back edge of that low the heights here, but in turn warmer air pumping northwards here, which builds the ridge off towards the east, but also to complicate things, another ridge moving east with a flow in there. So watch what happens when those two interact. There they are. The trough basically picks up the low, tries to shift it further eastwards. It accentuates, amplifies the trough down through the UK, down to the western parts of Spain. This is the reason why western parts of Europe are going to be going thundery, including the southern parts of the UK going thundery towards the end of this week. And of course, as that amplification takes place, what you also then find is a sympathetic amplification to the ridge off towards the east. And this is where models then start to get very confused, because when you get amplification like that taking place, they really don't know what to do. Because look, you've got cold air pumping in here into this trough, you've got warmer air pumping up here, this ridge is trying to build all the time. This trough here is essentially just going to be leaning in like so. And what that then does is it allows for the ridge further west to kind of topple its way eastwards like so. And eventually get back through the UK for a time, but because we've got this trough coming in from the west, that then powers through the ridge again. Goodness me, that chart's a mess, but it powers through the ridge again and means that we go back into more unsettled conditions. So I think what we're building here, what I'm building here, is this story that, yeah, we're going to get thundery rain at the end of the week, but what we might then find is that we're going to perhaps a couple of days of dry weather through the weekend, perhaps early on next week, but then the trough returns back from the west. ECMWF is trying to come up with that story, and it looks fairly believable. So I think the idea that we'd got of the weather turning more unsettled into the middle of the month is certainly one that we stick with. I think mixed rather than unsettled is going to be the best way to describe this. The signals are there. Right, MGO. Haven't looked at the MGO for quite a while, have we? This is the CFS MGO. It's from Carl McRitch's site, and notice here, look, going through phase 2, it's a fairly weak phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, around eventually into phase 5. So the dates on these, somewhere around about the 15th for going into phase 3. Then we're looking at around the 21st, phase 4. We're looking about the 27th for phase 5. And it does eventually try and slip us into phase 6, around about the 5th of July. So what are those phases corresponding to? Well, this is phase 2. These calculations worked out by AmericanWX.com. And look, phase 2 typically has low the normal heights down towards the south of the country, higher than normal towards the east, and it allows for these lows to move their way northwards and for things to be quite thundery. So that's phase 2, and look what we're going into at the end of this week. Phase 3 then gets into the idea of a ridge off towards the east, low or trough off towards the west, so we get a flow something like that. So we get some sort of breakdown of sorts taking place. Typically what it does is bring the jet towards the west of Scotland, so western Scotland, northern and western Ireland tend to go into wetter conditions. Further south, yeah, bits of rain but also showers. This is the idea of this mixed signal that I was telling you about around the middle stages of the month. Phase 4, 21st, typically shows signs of the higher than normal heights building again towards the north, with the thundery weather developing across central and southern parts of Europe. So a spell of fine weather coming in associated with phase 4. It's not a bad phase for the UK, and that would be 21st onwards according to the MJO. But don't get too excited because come phase 5, which is 27th of June, you're back into unsettled conditions, look lower than normal heights, and stays that way into the early part of July. So what we can take from this, and remember this is just a forecast, so you know it's not, it's rather guidance that's been taken from the model. So you can't take it too literally, but what you can say is that it lines up with our guidance, the guidance that we gave, and that builds confidence that we go into a more mixed phase for the second half of June, and yeah, certainly more unsettled than the first half of June. And it also kind of ties up where things want to take us through July. This was the mean of July height anomalies in moderate El Nino years, which developed through the spring seasons back to 1950. And this was the mean of the 500 millibar heights during July. And what they show here, look, are low the normal heights down towards the south here. So the jet tending to be overall south of the UK. Higher than normal heights up towards the north. So the driest of the weather are always across the north of the UK, but the south are always tending to stay in that threat of more unsettled conditions or mixed conditions. And the forecast that we've been giving out, we've been kind of stressing that we thought that, whereas we don't want to say it's a washout, and it isn't really unsettled, it's just a mixed summer. We're struggling to see periods where there's long spells of dry weather. Just don't see that. You might get 2 or 3 days, but anything longer than that, I think at the moment we're struggling to see. Of course, anything can change. And of course, we try and keep you updated right through here at weatherweb.net and try and tell the story and allow the story to evolve. There are those who like nothing more than hearing selected parts of the forecast that they want to hear, and then they love the idea of emailing in and saying, oh, well, you got this wrong, and oh, well, you got that wrong, didn't you? That's not what we're trying to do here. Obviously, you get those people right the way through society, don't you, trying to make a name for themselves. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give some guidance. We're trying to point out what we see and the way that this great atmospheric machine may work. So hopefully it's useful for you. I'm going to leave you with that for now, I think. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So, good. Thanks again for watching. Keep the sun shining, and whatever you're doing, have a great day. And bye for now.